You are about to experience the film The Dark Knight, but in the form of a book, because a book is perceived in a completely different way. Enjoy listening.
Chapter 1. The Masks. Morning burned across the skyline of Gotham like a pale fire, cutting through a haze of smog that refused to lift. The city stirred below, a restless machine of concrete and steel, coughing itself awake. A single black sedan wove through the traffic, unnoticed by anyone but the driver. At a corner, near the First National Bank, a man stood waiting. He held a clown mask loosely at his side, its painted grin catching the sunlight. When the car rolled up, he opened the door without a word and slid inside. The door shut, sealing them in. Inside, 3 men sat in silence. Each wore a clown mask, cheap, shiny, and grotesque. Each carried a gun. Each had a nickname instead of a name. "Three of a kind," said the man in the front seat, his voice muffled behind the plastic smile. "Let's do this." "That's it? 3 guys?" asked another, frowning as he checked his weapon. "There's 2 on the roof," said the first, grumpy by reputation and by tone. "5 shares is plenty." "6," the third corrected him. "Don't forget the guy who planned the job." Grumpy gave a low laugh. "Yeah, he thinks he can sit it out and still take a slice? Then I get why they call him the Joker." The driver, Bozo, said nothing. The car rolled to a stop in front of the Gotham First National Bank. Sunlight gleamed on the building's mirrored facade. Ordinary people crossed the street, unaware that this was the calm before Gotham's new storm. On the rooftop across the street, 2 other men were already at work. Dopey fired a cable across the chasm between buildings. The line hissed as it caught an I-beam on the bank's roof. He clipped it tight, tested it once, then slid out into open air. The drop below was dizzying, an ocean of noise and glass. He didn't look down. Neither did the man behind him, Happy, who followed with a duffel bag swinging from his shoulder. They landed hard on the bank roof, breath misting in the cool morning air. Dopey pried open an access panel and began pulling out thick blue cables. "Why do they call him the Joker?" Happy asked, crouching beside him. "I heard he wears makeup." "Makeup?" Happy echoed. "Yeah, war paint, to scare people." Dopey didn't see the gun rise behind him. Happy's silenced pistol coughed once, a whisper, a flash, and Dopey slumped forward. Happy wiped the muzzle, picked up both bags, and moved to the roof access door without another glance. Down below, the sedan stopped in front of the bank. Grumpy, Chuckles, and Bozo stepped out, assault rifles ready. The glass doors burst open, and they poured inside. "Everybody down!" Grumpy shouted. A shot cracked the ceiling. Plaster snowed down. Customers screamed. A guard went for his weapon, too slow, and Chuckles knocked him flat with a blow from the rifle butt. Behind the counter, a teller pressed a small button beneath her desk. The silent alarm pulsed through the wires, unseen, unheard. Up on the roof, Happy's handheld device chirped. "Here comes the silent alarm," he said, tapping a control. "And there it goes. Huh, that's funny. It didn't call 911. It was trying to reach a private number." A new voice answered behind him. "Is it a problem?" Happy turned. Another clown was there, one he hadn't seen before. The figure raised a pistol. "No," Happy said quickly. "I'm done here." The gun fired. Happy fell. The killer picked up his bag, opened the roof door, and descended into the stairwell without a sound. Below, the chaos deepened. Grumpy handed each hostage a small metallic object. "Don't do anything with your hands," he said, yanking the pins from the grenades one by one, "except hold on for dear life." The bank manager's office door slammed open. The old man stepped out with a shotgun and rage in his eyes. The first blast knocked Chuckles off his feet. The next tore chunks from the marble wall. The hostages screamed, clutching their grenades like children holding toys they didn't want. When the smoke cleared, the manager staggered into the lobby, reloading. Grumpy peeked from cover, saw the angle, and fired. The shotgun fell. So did the manager. Grumpy breathed hard, wounded but alive. He turned to Bozo. "Where's the alarm guy?" Bozo just watched him through the mask. "Boss told me when he was done I should take him out. One less share." Bozo nodded slowly. "Funny. He told me something similar." Grumpy froze. Then came the sound, not of gunfire, but of something far louder. A thunderous crash tore through the bank as the rear of a yellow school bus exploded through the marble facade. Dust and glass rained down. The blast hurled Grumpy across the counter. Bozo was already moving, calm amid the chaos, gathering duffel bags of cash. He loaded the bus while the wounded bank manager groaned from the floor. "You think you're smart, huh? The guy who hired you, he'll do the same to you." Bozo knelt beside him, his head tilted like a curious animal's. "You criminals in this town used to believe in things, honor, respect. What do you believe in, huh?" He pulled a grenade from his coat and slid it between the manager's lips. A thin purple string trailed from the pin. Bozo stood. "I believe that what doesn't kill you." He lifted off his mask. The white grease paint cracked around a pair of wide, colorless eyes. The mouth beneath was a carved, permanent grin, scars that turned his smile into something obscene. "I believe that what doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger." The Joker rose and walked toward the waiting bus, the purple thread unspooling from his coat as he went. Behind him, the manager trembled, the grenade hissing in his mouth. The Joker climbed on board, shut the doors, and the bus rolled out of the wrecked building. As it pulled away, the string tightened, the pin came free, and the grenade spewed a puff of crimson smoke instead of fire. Outside, a line of identical school buses drove past. The Jokers merged seamlessly into them, a yellow ghost swallowed by morning traffic. By the time the sirens arrived, the Joker was gone. All that remained was a broken bank, a trembling manager, and the echo of laughter that hadn't really been there.
Chapter 2. The Vault. The hum of fluorescent lights filled the corridor leading to the vault, a dull electrical drone that swallowed every other sound. Dust drifted from the ceiling after the explosion above. A clown mask appeared in the doorway, followed by the man wearing it, grumpy, limping, his shoulder bleeding through his shirt. He looked down the hallway, past the framed photographs of board members and commemorations of trust, toward the steel vault door gleaming at the far end. The other clown, Happy, was already there, crouched beside a power drill and a heap of tangled wire. "Door's solid," Happy said without looking up. 5-inch composite, won't budge without a tickle." "You tickle it," Grumpy muttered. "I'm just here for the bags." He dumped a duffel on the floor, pulled it open. The smell of gunpowder clung to everything. Brass, sweat, blood. Happy smiled behind his mask. "You know what this is, right? A mob bank. Guess that's why the Joker picked it." Grumpy grunted. "Yeah, but the mob's thrilled he told us to rob their life savings." The drill bit screamed against steel. Sparks sprayed the air. Happy leaned closer, his gloves trembling slightly from the vibration. "Why work for a guy you've never met?" Grumpy asked. "Maybe I have," Happy said, eyes glinting behind the mask's eye holes. The vault lock clicked once. a heavy metallic thud. Happy twisted the handle. The moment he touched it, there was a flash. Blue light burst from the metal. The shock threw him backward. His body slammed into the wall and slid down, smoking. "Door's electrified," Grumpy hissed, stepping back. "They wired the damn thing." Happy gasped, sitting up slowly. "What kind of bank does that?" "A mob bank," Grumpy repeated. He leaned over, snatched the drill, and struck the power supply with the butt of his rifle. Sparks sputtered, died. "Try now." Happy nodded, gripping his shoes and sliding them off. Barefoot, he used the soles as insulation, twisting the handle with shaking hands. The tumblers groaned. Then, with a long, low sigh, the vault opened. Inside lay a mountain of cash, stacks upon stacks of bills, bundled and tagged, filling the air with the dry scent of paper and greed. It was beautiful in its own filthy way. Happy laughed under his breath. "We did it! Boss will be proud!" Grumpy's eyes lingered on the fortune. He felt something else beneath the triumph, unease. The Joker had planned too well, too cleanly, too cruelly. "So who told you to take out who?" Happy asked suddenly, voice casual. "What?" "You know," Happy continued. "Once the job's done, fewer shares to split. Boss told me to take out the guy who did the alarm." Grumpy looked at him for a long second. "Funny," he said quietly. "He told me something similar." Happy blinked. The sound that followed was short and final, one suppressed shot. Happy fell across the money, crimson blooming through his shirt. Grumpy stepped over him, collecting the bags. "Guess there's only one share now." Upstairs, the sound of sirens faintly reached through the shattered glass. Bozo had started loading the bus. The floor was littered with bills that fluttered like wounded birds every time someone moved. Grumpy emerged from the stairwell, his boots crunching over broken marble. He dropped 2 bulging duffels near the counter. If this guy was so smart, he'd have brought a bigger car. Bozo said nothing, just kept moving. "You're the last one," Grumpy pointed his gun lazily. "Bet the Joker told you to take me out once we're done." Bozo turned his masked head toward him. "No," he said softly. "I killed the bus driver." Grumpy frowned. "What bus?" The rest of the sentence was erased by an explosion. A yellow school bus tore through the wall, plowing straight through the counter. Dust and debris filled the air. Grumpy went flying, crashing into a pile of currency that scattered like snow around him. Bozo walked through the wreckage calmly, methodically dragging the money toward the open bus doors. Outside, through the smoke, other school buses passed in a steady line, an ordinary convoy on an ordinary school day. Inside, the bank manager groaned, crawling toward his fallen shotgun. Bozo turned toward him. "You think you're smart, huh? The guy who hired you, he'll do the same to you." Bozo crouched, head tilted. The mask's painted grin seemed to listen. "You criminals in this town, you used to believe in things. Honor, respect. What do you believe in, huh?" He reached into his coat and pulled out a grenade. The silver sphere gleamed in the light as he slid it into the man's mouth. A purple thread hung from the pin like a ribbon. "I believe," he said, "that what doesn't kill you." He removed his mask. The scars turned the smile into a wound. The eyes were cold, bright, and impossibly alive. "Simply makes you stranger." The Joker stood, straightened his coat, and walked toward the exit, the purple thread trailing from his sleeve. He climbed aboard the bus, slammed the door shut, and vanished into the convoy outside, a ghost, hiding in daylight. Behind him, the bank manager shook, terrified, as the grenade hissed and spat colored smoke instead of fire. Outside, Gotham continued to move, taxis honking, children crossing streets, the noise of life refusing to notice the shift that had just begun. By the time the first police cars arrived, the bus was already gone, absorbed into the city's pulse, and with it, something invisible had entered Gotham, a new kind of madness, smiling beneath grease paint.
Chapter 3. The Escape. The bus rattled as it rolled out of the shattered bank, its windows filmed with dust and gunpowder. Inside, the Jokers sat alone among duffel bags stacked high with money. He watched the city slide by through streaked glass, faces blurred, ordinary and unknowing. Children waited on corners with backpacks slung low. Crossing guards waved signs. Other school buses merged into traffic ahead of him, yellow steel animals moving in a herd. His bus slipped into formation as easily as a shark among fish. He smiled faintly. The scars stretched. The Joker's gloves were still flecked with marble dust. He drummed his fingers on a bag of bills, the rhythm steady, offbeat. In his mind, the gunfire was still echoing, each shot another punchline. From behind the mask of the city, chaos had just said hello. At the bank, sirens converged in a rising wail. The lobby looked like the aftermath of a small war. The air smelled of money and smoke. Hostages stumbled out, trembling and gasping, clutching the grenades that turned out to be nothing but harmless smoke charges. One burst, spilling pink vapor into the sunlight. Detectives from major crimes pushed through the crowd. One of them stared at the scene, shattered counters, bullet holes, the painted smile of madness left behind. Jesus, who the hell does this? Nobody answered. In the narrow alleys of the Narrows district, the Joker's bus turned off the main road. The sirens faded behind him, swallowed by the maze of decaying tenements and flickering neon. He parked in a forgotten lot between two abandoned factories. A dog barked somewhere in the distance, chained and angry. The Joker stepped out, dusted his shoulders, and looked around. For a moment, the city's noise seemed far away. The only sound was the faint hum of fluorescent lights from a broken sign across the street that read, "Ha-Ha's Party Supplies." He chuckled at that. Home sweet home. He opened the bus's back door and dragged one of the bodies out, grumpy, still wearing his mask. He laid him in the dirt, crouched beside him, and plucked the clown mask from the dead man's face. "Let's put a smile on that," he whispered. He slid the mask over the corpse, then stood, adjusting his own coat as if preparing for a show. The duffel bags remained in the bus, untouched, irrelevant for the moment. Money was only fuel. Chaos was the goal. He looked down at his hands, at the red smears on his gloves. They trembled, not with fear but with excitement. He raised them to his face, inhaled the scent of cordite and iron, and smiled wider. Then he laughed, a dry, broken sound that started low and spiraled up, cutting through the empty streets like a knife. Across town, in the Major Crimes Unit, Lieutenant Jim Gordon stood over a crime board covered with photographs and clippings. A single Polaroid of a Joker playing card sat pinned in the center. He'd been looking at it for 3 days now. The commissioner's voice came from behind him. "Bank hit this morning. Mob money. They say a clown did it." Gordon turned. "That's not funny." "It's not a joke, Jim. He left them with a live grenade in his mouth." Gordon rubbed a hand over his jaw. He'd seen too much of Gotham's sickness to be surprised anymore. But this was new. It wasn't greed. It wasn't power. It was theater. He called Major Crimes and lighted up tonight. Night fell hard over Gotham. From the rooftop of the MCU building, the bat signal blazed against the clouds, a vast white symbol carved into the sky, trembling with electricity. The wind whipped Gordon's coat as he stood beside the beam, looking upward. Somewhere out there, he knew, the man in black was already watching. High above the city, perched on a gargoyle of the Wayne Tower spire, a dark shape waited. The cape stirred like wings in the wind. Beneath the cowl, Bruce Wayne's eyes reflected the skyline. Endless windows, endless sins. The signal cut through the haze, bright and perfect. He didn't smile, didn't move, but the decision was already made. The game had begun again. And far across the river, in an empty lot filled with the echo of laughter,
The Joker whispered into the dark. "Let's play."
Chapter 4. The Signal. The city never truly slept. Even now, near midnight, Gotham pulsed, a restless heart of sirens, neon, and concrete. Rain slicked the streets until they shone like mirrors, reflecting every broken light. From the rooftops, the world looked almost clean. From below, it stank of rot and gasoline. A van sped down the empty stretch of Park Row, headlights cutting through steam rising from sewer grates. Inside, 3 men sat, armed, masked, jittery. Their leader, Brian Douglas, wore makeshift body armor and a black cape too short to be convincing. "Mask up," Brian said. "We do this fast, in and out." The others obeyed, tugging down ski masks painted with crude bat symbols. They were copycats, men who believed that dressing like Batman made them something more than scared citizens. Their van screeched to a halt outside a parking garage. Inside, the echo of laughter, high, panicked, and chemical, bounced off the walls. "Let's go," Brian said. "Scarecrows inside." They stormed in, weapons raised. A man in a tattered burlap mask turned toward them. Dr. Jonathan Crane, once a psychiatrist, now a peddler of nightmares. His voice rasped from behind the sackcloth. "That's not him," Crane said, stepping backward as they spread out. "You're not the real thing." "We're doing what he won't, taking the streets back," Brian shot back. Crane chuckled. "You don't stand for anything but fear." He flicked a lighter. A hiss answered from the van behind him, canisters rolling open. Orange gas poured across the floor. "Oh, hell," one of the men coughed. "Fear toxin." They opened fire blindly, bullets ricocheting off concrete. Crane darted behind a pillar, pulling a pistol of his own. One of the impostors screamed as the gas hit him, clawing at invisible insects crawling beneath his skin. Then the lights went out. A roar of engine. A black shape burst through the far wall, the Batmobile, all armor and thunder. It slammed to a halt as its headlights flared like eyes. Out of the cockpit stepped a silhouette. The cape flowed like liquid shadow. Batman moved. Before the copycats could speak, he was among them. A fist shattered one man's jaw. A boot swept another from his feet. The third raised a gun. Batman's gauntlet deflected the barrel, snapped the weapon in half, and sent him sprawling. Crane tried to flee, scrambling toward a maintenance door. A black cable shot from the dark, wrapping around his ankles. He fell hard, the burlap mask twisting sideways. "Not tonight," the bat growled. Crane groaned. That's not fair." "You of all people should know the world isn't," Batman said, hauling him upright. He tossed Crane into the tumbler's side compartment. The criminals lay groaning in the dust. Batman turned toward the impostors, still conscious. "What gives you the right?" one shouted, blood running from his lip. "You start something, then we finish it." "I don't wear hockey pads," Batman said. He turned away, the cape snapping like a banner in the wind. Later, the tumbler roared across rooftops, leaping alleys, leaving trails of vapor and rain in its wake. Inside, Batman's breathing steadied as he switched the comm channel. "Is Rachel safe?" he asked. Alfred's calm voice answered through the speaker. "Tucked away at the DA's benefit, sir. You, on the other hand, seem determined to test the suspension of that machine." Batman said nothing. His jaw tightened. The adrenaline was fading, replaced by the weight that never left. The city looked endless below, millions of windows, millions of choices. He could stop a van, catch a man in a mask, even frighten monsters like Crane. But the system, the roots, they just kept growing back. He parked the tumbler beneath the Wayne Enterprises sub-basement and stepped out, peeling off the cowl. Sweat gleamed across Bruce Wayne's face, his eyes sunken from too many nights without rest. Alfred waited at the platform, holding a towel and a quiet disapproval that needed no words. "Dogs are copying you now," Alfred said dryly. "Evening News called them the Batman of Gotham. You've started quite a trend." Bruce wiped his face. "They're getting themselves killed." "Perhaps they're inspired, sir." "They're amateurs," Bruce muttered. "Criminals see a mask, not a man. They think this is a game." "And what would you call it?" Alfred raised an eyebrow. Bruce didn't answer. He stared at the batsuit hanging in the glass case, the armor pitted, the symbol scarred. Every dent was a promise, every mark a consequence. High above the city, the bat signal burned through the rain clouds, bright and unwavering. On the rooftop of the Major Crimes Unit, Lieutenant Gordon stood beside it, coat collar up, cigarette untouched in his fingers. He watched the beam flicker against the sky. "I'll take him alive next time," a detective muttered beside him. Gordon shook his head. "You don't take Batman alive. You ask him for help and hope he shows." He turned away, eyes narrowing as thunder rolled across the skyline. Somewhere out there, the city's only defender was bleeding, doubting, enduring. And somewhere else, in the dark corners of laughter and gasoline, another man had begun to move his pieces. The war had only just begun.
Chapter 5. Copycats. Morning came gray and heavy, filtering through the high windows of Wayne Penthouse like smoke. Bruce sat at the long glass table, still in his undershirt, a fresh bruise purpling his shoulder. On the hollow screen before him, the morning news played the footage again, grainy cell phone video of the Batmen, amateurs in hockey pads, arrested and lined up beside their broken van. The newscaster's voice carried that careful mix of fear and fascination. "Authorities confirmed 3 men dressed as Batman were apprehended late last night in connection with a shootout involving known criminal Jonathan Crane, also known as Scarecrow. Sources within Major Crimes say the real Batman may have intervened." Bruce muted the screen and leaned back. The silence pressed against him harder than the noise. Alfred appeared at his side with a cup of coffee. "They're calling them heroes, sir. You might be out of a job soon." Bruce managed a faint smile. "Heroes don't wear hockey pads." Perhaps not, but they seem to share your insomnia." He accepted the cup and stared into the dark liquid. "I didn't build all this to inspire men with guns. I built it to stop men like them." Alfred poured himself tea. "I built it because you believed Gotham could still be saved. That belief, I fear, is contagious." Bruce didn't answer. His thoughts were already turning, to the heist, to the clown masks, to that word the news had used. The Joker. He reached for the remote again, replaying the footage from the bank camera. The security feed showed the clown stepping into daylight, duffel bag slung over his shoulder, climbing into the yellow bus like a child off to school. Bruce froze the frame. The face, blurred, white and smiling, looked back at him through the distortion. It wasn't greed in those eyes. It was something else. Something that laughed at the idea of fear itself. At Gotham Police Headquarters, Lieutenant Gordon stood in front of a corkboard covered with evidence. The photographs from the bank were pinned alongside the Joker card from an earlier crime scene.
His partner, Detective Stevens, tapped the board with a pencil. "This guy's a freak. Robs a mob bank, kills his whole crew, leaves a live grenade in the manager's mouth. Who does that?" Gordon sighed. "Someone who wants to send a message." "Yeah? What's the message?" Gordon looked up at the photographs again, the faces painted white, the smiles carved deep. "I think he's saying, we're all part of the joke." Stevens snorted. "Well, I'm not laughing." Gordon wasn't either. He'd spent too many years watching Gotham's faces change while its sickness stayed the same. But this felt different. This wasn't organized crime or revenge or even madness, he understood. This was intentional chaos. He looked toward the rooftop window where faint light filtered through the blinds, the same direction the bat signal would soon burn against the sky. "Find Lau," he said. "He's the mob's accountant. If Joker robbed their bank, Lau knows why." Stevens frowned. "You think the clown's working for them?" "No," Gordon said. "I think he's working for himself." That evening, Wayne Enterprises towered over the skyline like a pillar of glass. Inside, Bruce walked alongside Lucius Fox through the R&D department. Rows of prototypes, blueprints, and half-finished armor plating gleaming under industrial light. Lucius adjusted his tie. "You know, Mr. Wayne, every time you borrow something from my department, I lose another engineer to a nervous breakdown." Bruce smirked. "Tell them it's for the greater good." Lucius stopped beside a table where the new Batsuit prototype lay in pieces. Lighter plates, improved mobility, integrated sonar. "You wanted to be able to turn your head," Lucius said. "Now you can. Just try not to break your neck testing it." Bruce ran a hand over the armor. "You ever think this will end?" Lucius studied him. "With you, I doubt it." Later that night, the city's noise softened into the hum of streetlights and distant sirens. In a small corner store on the East End, a television flickered. Two clerks watched the local news, a press conference from the mayor's office, reporters crowded around the podium, cameras flashing. "We're doing everything we can to reassure the public," said the mayor, voice taut. "The Batman's actions are under review, and we urge all citizens not to take justice into their own hands." A sudden interruption, a loud thud off-screen. The camera shook. Someone screamed. A man stepped into frame, wearing a tailored purple coat. His face was chalk white, lips red and wet like blood, and the grin looked carved there by fate itself. He leaned toward the camera, chewing something as he spoke. "Evening, Commissioner. You've changed your hair." A nervous laugh rippled from the unseen crew. The man tilted his head, eyes bright with mischief. "See, I'm a man of simple tastes. I like dynamite and gasoline and, oh yes, you know what they have in common?" He paused, savoring the silence. "They're cheap." The camera went dark. The clerk stared at the black screen for a long moment before one whispered, "What the hell was that?" The other didn't answer. Outside, rain began to fall again, slow, cold, and unending. In the Batcave below Wayne Manor, Bruce stood before the wall of monitors replaying that same footage. He didn't move. He barely breathed. The image froze on that painted smile. For the first time in years, Batman felt something unfamiliar coil in his chest. It wasn't fear. It was recognition.
Chapter 6. The White Knight. The courtroom buzzed like a hive before a storm. Reporters whispered, flashbulbs popped, and lawyers shuffled papers that had already been rehearsed to death. Behind the prosecutor's cable, Harvey Dent stood perfectly still, tall, confident, his suit pressed sharp as armor. He didn't glance at the cameras.
He didn't need to. Gotham already knew his face. The district attorney with the square jaw and the fearless smile. The man who took on cases other lawyers were afraid to touch. Opposite him sat Maroney, one of Gotham's surviving mob lieutenants, chewing gum and pretending not to care. His attorney leaned over and muttered something. Maroney grinned. The judge entered. Case number 2897, The People versus Salvatore Maroney. Mr. Dent, you may proceed. Harvey stepped forward. Thank you, Your Honor. He turned to the witness stand, where a nervous man in an expensive suit sat sweating through his collar. A bookkeeper, mob-affiliated, trying to save himself by testifying. Harvey flipped open a folder. Mr. Rossi, he began smoothly, you were working as an accountant for the defendant when the Organized Crime Task Force froze his assets, correct? Rossi nodded. Yes, sir. And in response, Mr. Maroney offered you compensation to keep quiet about certain, shall we say, cash transfers. Rossi's eyes darted toward the defense table. I don't recall. Don't recall? Harvey smiled, warm and deadly. Perhaps your memory needs encouragement. He held up a photocopy, bank statements, clear as day. This is your signature, isn't it? Rossi hesitated. It might be. A metallic click broke the air. Harvey turned just in time to see the witness pull a small pistol from under the table. The barrel pointed directly at Harvey's chest. A gasp went up from the gallery. Harvey didn't flinch. In one motion, he lunged forward, grabbed the gun, and twisted it free. The shot went off harmlessly into the ceiling. He shoved Rossi back into his chair as bailiffs swarmed. The entire courtroom froze. Maniac! Rossi shouted. You can't just... Harvey ejected the magazine, held it up, and smiled. Carbon fiber. If you're going to shoot a public servant, Mr. Rossi, use a real gun. The gallery erupted in applause. Even the judge hid a smile behind her gavel. Harvey laid the gun on the evidence table and straightened his tie. I'm fine, he told the bailiff, but someone remind me to press charges for attempted murder after lunch. Outside the courthouse, cameras swarmed him like flies. Microphones thrust toward his face. Mr. Dent, is it true you disarmed the shooter yourself? Are the mob targeting prosecutors again? What do you say to those calling you Gotham's White Knight? Harvey squinted in the sunlight, that same half-smile on his lips. I say Gotham's worth fighting for, and I don't scare easily. A woman's voice cut through the noise, clear, familiar. Rachel Dawes stepped from the crowd, briefcase in hand, her hair catching the sun. Harvey, she said, smiling, you sure know how to make a press day interesting. Comes naturally, he replied. Besides, what kind of date doesn't start with gunfire? Rachel rolled her eyes. You call this a date? It depends, he said, lowering his voice. Will there be dinner after? Before she could answer, reporters called her name too. She was, after all, assistant DA and something of a legend herself. Harvey watched her walk away, the corner of his mouth softening. Behind them, the courthouse steps filled with applause. For the first time in years, Gotham believed in someone who didn't wear a mask. That night, in the parking garage beneath City Hall, Harvey Dent met Lieutenant Gordon. The air was thick with the smell of oil and concrete. Gordon leaned against his car, tie loosened, eyes tired. Nice work today. Almost made me forget how corrupt this city is. Harvey laughed. That's my goal, 5 minutes of optimism. Gordon nodded toward the shadows. You've got a lot of friends upstairs, Dent. The mayor likes you. The press loves you. But the rest of us, we're cautious. Gotham chews up white knights. I'm not here to be chewed up. I'm here to clean up the mess. Gordon studied him for a moment, then handed him an envelope, photographs, surveillance stills. Mob accountants, the ones who didn't end up shot. You'll want to see where their money's going. Dent flipped through the photos. They all pointed to one man, Lau, a slick-faced Chinese businessman who smiled only when counting zeros. Gordon lowered his voice. Word is he moved the entire mob fortune offshore after the Joker hit their bank. The Joker again, Dent muttered. You think he's working with them? Gordon shook his head. No, he's working against everyone. Dent tucked the envelope into his coat. Then we'll make sure they all fall together. He offered his hand. Gordon hesitated, then took it. Let's be real. You've got your office, I've got my badge. He's got his cape. None of us trust each other. Harvey smiled. But maybe we'll get there. Maybe. From the far end of the garage, an engine rumbled. Both men turned, but there was only darkness and the echo of something large slipping away into it. Elsewhere, on a rooftop across the river, Bruce Wayne watched the courthouse footage replayed on a tiny monitor in the Batcave feed. Rachel stood beside Harvey, smiling in a way Bruce hadn't seen in years. He muted the screen. Harvey appeared behind him. Our 5 minutes of optimism. Harvey appeared behind him. That's the man who saved her today, isn't it? Bruce nodded. Seems rather good at it. Seems like the kind of man who can make Gotham believe again. Alfred studied him. Then perhaps that's your out, sir. Bruce didn't answer. He only watched the frozen image of Harvey and Rachel on the screen, 2 people standing in daylight, unmasked. He looked down at the cowl beside him, the black eyes catching the dim light. I hope you're right, he murmured, because if he's the future, then maybe Batman doesn't need to exist. Chapter 7. The Alliance. Rain fell like a curtain over Gotham docks, each drop ringing off the rusted containers like distant gunfire. The harbor lights flickered in the mist, ghosts of ships long gone. Lieutenant Jim Gordon adjusted the collar of his trench coat and checked his watch. Midnight. He hated meeting here. Too exposed, too quiet. A low rumble cut through the storm. Then the darkness moved. From the shadows between cranes, the Batmobile emerged. Massive, armored, a black tank rolling slow and deliberate. It stopped in front of Gordon with the hiss of hydraulics. Batman stepped out, cape flowing, boots sinking slightly into the puddled asphalt. Gordon didn't flinch. He'd seen stranger things than monsters. You were followed, Batman asked, voice gravel and smoke. By the weather, maybe. Dent's late. Headlights flashed from the far end of the dock. A sleek sedan approached, tires slicing through the rain. Harvey Dent stepped out, coat over his suit, hair plastered to his forehead. He looked like a man who had already decided not to be afraid. So this is the famous Bat, he said, half a smile tugging at his lips. Should I call you Mr. Wayne, or does that ruin the mystique? Batman didn't react. Gordon frowned. He doesn't tell me his name, I don't tell him mine. Dent nodded. Fair enough. He approached the 2 men, hands in his pockets, water dripping from his coat. For a moment the 3 stood in silence, law, order, and shadow, waiting to see if they could coexist. Dent broke it first. You wanted me to see the evidence. Gordon opened a waterproof folder, handing him the photographs. Mob money, he said. All of it's moving through one man, Lau, operates out of Hong Kong, claims he's clean. Dent flipped through the pages, brow tightening. Clean money doesn't buy silence. If we can nail Lau, we can hit the entire mob's financials. Batman stepped forward. Lau's not coming back to Gotham willingly. I can extradite him. Pressure, diplomacy. No, Batman interrupted. You can't. He's got half the Chinese government protecting him, and the mob's lawyers will keep him safe here. Gordon looked between them. You're suggesting what exactly? Batman's eyes flicked toward the rain-slicked cranes. I'll bring him back. Dent laughed, but it died quickly when he saw Batman's expression didn't change. You're serious. I don't do requests through channels. Lau's the key. Without him, this city keeps choking. Dent crossed his arms. You're planning to break international law. I'm planning to stop criminals, Batman said. The tension hung in the air like thunder. Finally, Gordon stepped in. Harvey, you said you wanted results. He gets results. Dent stared at the man in black. I believe in fairness, not vigilantes. Batman stepped closer. Then believe in the results. Their eyes met, one behind a mask, one behind conviction. Gordon sighed, looking over the water. You two done measuring? Dent gave a reluctant smirk. Fine. You catch him. I'll make sure he sings. Good, Batman said. I'll need flight clearance to Hong Kong. Dent raised an eyebrow. And what, you're going to walk into his office and carry him out? Batman didn't answer. He just turned toward the Batmobile. The engine roared to life, echoing through the storm. Dent watched him go. He just leaves like that? Gordon nodded. Usually. As the Batmobile vanished into the night, Dent exhaled slowly. You know, I'm not sure I trust either of you. Gordon smirked. That's okay. I don't trust you either. Later that night, high above Wayne Tower, Bruce Wayne looked out over the city, the rain streaking the glass like veins of mercury. He could see the docks in the distance, faint lights moving like fireflies. Below him the city stretched out, endless windows, endless lives he couldn't reach. He turned to Lucius Fox, who stood beside a workbench covered in blueprints and armor components. Mr. Fox, Bruce said, how long would it take to modify the suit for sky extraction? Sky extraction. That sounds illegal. Only if I get caught. Lucius sighed. New plating, more flexible joints, lighter Kevlar weave, and you'll need a new cowl. I'll call it the Hong Kong upgrade. Bruce smiled faintly. I like it. Lucius folded his arms. Just one question. Are you bringing this Lau fellow in for questioning or kidnapping him? Bruce met his gaze. Sometimes those are the same thing. Lucius chuckled. Just don't tell me what you're doing. That way, I can truthfully say I didn't know. At that same hour, in a penthouse lit by golden lamplight, Harvey Dent and Rachel Dawes shared a quiet dinner overlooking the city. Rain traced silver lines down the glass. You met him, Rachel said softly. Batman? Harvey nodded. If he's human, he hides it well. She watched him for a moment. Do you trust him? He hesitated. Not yet, but maybe we'll need him. She looked down at her glass, then back up. You sound like Bruce. He smiled. He's a friend of yours? She didn't answer, only turned toward the skyline. Far away, lightning flickered over the dark sea. Somewhere out there, the man they both spoke of was already preparing to cross it.
Chapter 8. Dinner with the Devil. The chandeliers of the wing penthouse shimmered like constellations. Strings played softly in the corner, while waiters drifted through the room with trays of champagne and silver. Outside, the city glittered across the river, 1,000 lights pretending Gotham was at peace. Bruce Wayne, the perfect host, moved through the crowd with effortless charm. He shook hands, smiled, said names he barely remembered. To everyone else, he looked like a man who'd never known a sleepless night. Only Alfred saw the faint exhaustion in his eyes. "Try to at least pretend you enjoy your own parties," Alfred murmured, handing him a glass. "I do, when I'm not at them." Across the room, Harvey Dent stood beside Rachel Dawes, speaking with the mayor and a cluster of donors. His tie was loosened, his smile easy. The cameras loved him, and the crowd did too. Bruce watched him for a long moment. "He's good," said Alfred, following his gaze. "Handsome, eloquent. The press will have a field day." Bruce sipped his drink. "He's more than that." "Jealous, son?" "Hopeful," Bruce replied. Harvey raised his glass as the crowd quieted. "Gotham's seen enough of men hiding in the dark. It's time for law to mean something again. Real justice, not the kind that comes at the end of a gun, but the kind that stands in daylight." Applause filled the room. Rachel smiled at him, proud. Bruce stepped up beside them, clinking his glass against Harvey's. "Let's hear it for Harvey Dent," Bruce said, voice warm and steady. "The face of Gotham's future." Harvey grinned. "That's a little much, Bruce." "Not really. You're the only one in this town who believes in what you're saying." Rachel arched an eyebrow. "Funny, I thought you didn't believe in heroes." Bruce smiled faintly. "I don't, but Harvey might change my mind." Laughter rippled through the guests. For a brief moment, it almost felt like hope. Later, on the terrace, Rachel found Bruce alone, looking out over the skyline. The city lights reflected in the dark water below. "You believe in him, don't you?" she asked. Bruce didn't look at her. "He can do what Batman never could, lead without a mask." "Then maybe you can stop," she said softly. He turned, searching her face. "Would that make a difference?" Rachel hesitated. The wind caught her hair, pushing it across her cheek. "I'm with Harvey. He's everything you wanted to be, without the armor." Bruce nodded once. "That's the point." Inside, the music swelled again. Guests laughed, toasts were made, and the city's rich toasted their illusion of safety. But beyond the light, across the river, another kind of gathering took place, in a dim warehouse lit only by a flickering television. The mob bosses of Gotham sat around a long table. Maroney, Gamble, the Chechen, and a dozen others. They were angry, frightened men in expensive suits. On the TV screen, the image of Lau appeared via video call, speaking from Hong Kong. "All my client's money," Lau said, "is safe. I moved it before the police could act." Gamble slammed his fist on the table. "You think we trust you? You just ran off with our cash." "I'm watching everything," Lau replied calmly. "You'll get your cut when the heat dies down." "Cut? It's our money." The Chechen leaned back, grinning. "Calm down, Gamble. Lau is loyal. He hides our money. That is his service." The room's lights flickered once, then went out. A low, rhythmic sound echoed from the hallway. Slow, deliberate steps. The door creaked open. A man entered, dragging a chair behind him. His suit was purple, worn at the edges. His makeup, if that's what it was, seemed half-smeared, revealing the raw scars beneath. He smiled, eyes gleaming in the half-light. "Evening," he said. "You're all hard to reach." No one moved. "I thought we could discuss business. See, I know why you hold these little get-togethers. You're scared." Gamble rose. "You think you can just walk in here?" The man interrupted, slamming his palm on the table so hard the glasses jumped.
Do you know how many of your friends I killed to get this meeting? Silence. He smiled wider. Let's put a smile on that face. Maroney spoke first, low and careful. You must be the Joker. The man grinned. You know, you remind me of my father. I hated my father. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a pencil. He stabbed it upright into the table. Now, he said softly, I'm going to make this pencil disappear. Before anyone could react, one of Gamble's men lunged at him. The Joker sidestepped, grabbed the man's head and slammed it down. The pencil vanished into his skull. The body hit the floor. The room froze. The Joker straightened his coat. Told you, it's gone. He looked around the table, smiling like a man in church. I know why you have your little therapy sessions. The Batman's got you all running scared. He picked up a glass, sniffed it, set it down. The Batman has no jurisdiction. He'll find Lau, and when he does, your money's as good as gone. The mobsters glanced at each other. Lau's face flickered on the screen, pale. The Joker spread his arms. Here's my offer. I'll kill the Batman. Laughter broke out, nervous, ugly. You're crazy, Gamble sneered. The Joker smiled wider. No, I'm not. He pointed at the television. Half. I take half your money, and I kill the Batman. Maroney leaned forward. You're talking about billions. The Joker shrugged. I'm good with numbers. Gamble stood. You think you can just steal from us and walk out alive? The Joker tilted his head. Let's not blow things out of proportion. Men drew guns, chairs scraped back. But when they looked again, the Joker was gone. The door swung on its hinges, empty. Lau's voice trembled through the screen. We must deal with this clown. But no one spoke. Only the faint echo of laughter lingered, distant, metallic, and rising.
Chapter 9. The Mob Council. Morning crawled over Gotham with pale, sickly light. Inside an abandoned meat-packing warehouse, the city's underworld gathered again, fewer now, shaken by last night's meeting. The long steel tables were sticky with blood and salt. The air smelled of rust and cold. Sal Maroney sat at the head, his sharp suit a poor disguise for sleepless eyes. Around him, the remaining mob lieutenants muttered, their voices low and angry. "We should have killed that freak the moment he opened his mouth," growled Gamble, pacing behind his chair. "Walks in, kills one of my men, talks about taking half our money. Your man wasn't the first, and won't be the last if we keep fighting ghosts," Maroney interrupted, lighting a cigarette. Gamble slammed a fist on the table. "He's no ghost. He's a clown." Maroney exhaled smoke through his nose. "Yeah, a clown who just robbed all of us." The room went silent. Lau's voice echoed from a speaker on the table, his image projected on a grainy laptop screen from his office in Hong Kong. "I told you. I moved all your funds to a safe location. No one can trace it. The police, the Batman, this Joker, none of them." Gamble sneered. "You're sitting on billions of odd dollars, and you expect us to trust you?" "Trust is the business I'm in," Lau said. Maroney leaned forward. "So, what's your plan, genius?" Lau's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Simple. You lie low. I keep your money safe until the investigation cools down. Then, when it's clear, I return it with interest." The Chechen snorted. "You act like we got a choice." "Indeed, you don't," Lau said. The connection flickered and went dead. The laptop screen went black, leaving their reflection staring back. For a moment, only the dripping of condensation broke the silence. Gamble shoved his chair back. "Screw this! I'm done taking orders from accountants and freaks."
Maroney raised a brow. "So what are you gonna do, Gamble? Go after the Joker yourself?" "Maybe I will. He's just the man." Maroney chuckled softly. "That's what worries me." Across the city, deep inside the Major Crimes Unit, Lieutenant Gordon dropped a file onto his desk. The folder read Lau Security Holdings. Detective Stevens looked over his shoulder. "We're still waiting on a warrant?" Gordon nodded. "Judge been sitting on it all week. Mob's lawyers already greased half the court." "So we can't touch Lau?" Gordon sighed. "Not legally." Detective Stevens frowned. "What about illegally?" Before Gordon could answer, the lights dimmed, a faint hum from the rooftop generator. The window behind him darkened as a shadow passed over it. Gordon looked up. "He's here." They met in the rooftop stairwell, the same spot where the bat signal glowed faintly through the fog. Batman stood near the beam, cape stirring in the night wind. Gordon handed him a manila envelope. "Lau's offshore. He's holding the mob's entire fortune. If we get him, we cripple half the crime families in Gotham." Batman opened the file, scanning the details: flight logs, addresses, satellite photos. "Hong Kong, high-rise, private security. You planning a vacation?" Gordon asked dryly. Batman looked up. "He's out of reach for you, but not for me." Gordon frowned. "You'll bring him back here?" Batman nodded. "Once. Alive." Gordon rubbed his forehead. "This is insane. You'll start an international incident." Batman's voice was calm. "If Lau's safe, the mob stays rich. If he's not, they panic. And when they panic, they talk." He handed the file back. "I'll need Dent ready when I return." Gordon studied him, then nodded. "You're going to owe me a lot of paperwork." In a secure conference room inside Wayne Enterprises, Lucius Fox closed a folder marked Applied Sciences, Prototype Extraction Equipment. Across from him, Bruce Wayne leaned casually against the table, pretending this was all perfectly normal. "So, let me make sure I have this straight. You want to travel to Hong Kong, break into a heavily guarded corporate skyscraper, abduct a Chinese national, and return him to Gotham, all without leaving a trace?" Bruce smiled. "That's right." Lucius sighed. "I see. Well, Mr. Wayne, I'm sure I'd love to help you with your, what did you call it, business trip." Bruce grinned. "I knew you'd understand." Lucius shook his head, muttering, "Just remember, if anyone asks, I'm on vacation." That night, on the other side of the ocean, Lau stood at the window of his penthouse office in Hong Kong. The skyline glittered around him, clean, modern, untouched by Gotham's grime. He sipped tea, feeling untouchable. Behind him, 2 bodyguards stood watch, rifles slung across their chests. The security monitors glowed quietly, all clear. Then, one by one, the screens flickered, static, then black. Lau frowned. "Check the feed." The guards moved, confused. The window behind Lau suddenly went dark. Then, with a roar like thunder, the night exploded. Glass shattered inward, a black shape dropped through the storm, cape flaring like wings. The guards shouted, raised their weapons, but the shape was already among them. A blur of fists and sound, guns clattered, the lights went out. Lau stumbled backward, eyes wide. The figure turned toward him, tall, armored, eyes burning in the gloom. "Lau, you're coming with me," Batman said, voice low.
Chapter 10. The Proposition. The night air above Hong Kong was thick with heat and neon haze. Below, the city pulsed, 1,000 windows glowing like circuitry, stretching toward the sea. From the roof of a neighboring skyscraper, Batman crouched, cape fluttering in the updraft. Through the lenses of his cowl, the target building shimmered in his visor display. Lau Security Holdings, 48th floor. Inside that glass tower, Lau slept,
confident behind armed guards, triple-locked elevators, and cameras in every corner. None of it mattered. Batman had been watching him for hours. Lucius Fox's voice came quietly over the comm. "Mr. Wayne, your flight plan shows you're attending a business meeting at 8 a.m. local time. Should I tell them you're running late?" "Tell them I'm tied up," Bruce replied, his voice flat. "Very funny," Lucius said dryly. "All systems green. You have 5 minutes before the building's night patrol circles back." Batman stood, stepping onto the ledge. The wind whipped against his armor, tugging at his cape. Below, traffic wound through the city like veins of fire. He ran. 3 steps, 4. Then he leapt. The grapnel fired. The line went taut, swinging him into open air. For a moment, he was weightless, suspended above the neon abyss. Then momentum took over. The cape snapped open like a wing, catching the wind. He soared toward Lau's building, a black shadow gliding between towers. Glass filled his reflection for an instant, then shattered around him. The guards barely had time to shout before the smoke pellets burst, filling the room with thick gray fog. Bullets cut through it, wild and blind. By the time the air cleared, Batman was already gone. Lau's office door burst open. He turned, eyes wide, and there he was. You can't," Lau stammered. Batman said nothing. One gloved hand struck like lightning, and the lights went out. Minutes later, the building's alarm howled. The Hong Kong skyline flared with red strobes. Police cruisers screamed through the streets below. On the roof, Batman dragged a bound and gagged Lau toward the edge, where a cable winch waited, clipped to a strange-looking harness. "Target secured," Bruce said into the comm. Lucius's voice came back, calm but tight. "Ready for retrieval." Batman clipped the harness around Lau's chest. The man struggled, muffled shouts lost in the wind. "Relax," Batman said. "This will only hurt for a second." From the black ocean sky, a cargo plane descended, silent except for a low, rhythmic hum. A hook dangled beneath it, swinging through the night. The line tightened. A scream tore across the rooftop, and both men were yanked upward into the dark, vanishing between the skyscrapers like ghosts. Hours later, a private jet touched down at Gotham International Airport. A black duffel was unloaded by men in plain suits and carried through a restricted hangar. Inside the bag, Lau was awake now, terrified and furious. "This is kidnapping!" he shouted as the zipper opened. "Actually," a voice answered, "it's rendition." Lucius Fox smiled down at him. "Fancy word, isn't it?" Behind him, the hangar doors opened, and Jim Gordon and Harvey Dent stepped inside. Lau blinked, eyes darting between them. You can't do this! I'm a Chinese citizen!" Dent smirked. "And you're laundering billions in mob money. Congratulations. You're now a cooperating witness." Gordon stepped forward. "He'll flip when the DA pressures him. Then we hit the mob with everything we've got." Dent looked toward the shadows. "Where is he?" Batman stepped out from the darkness, silent as smoke. "Good work," Gordon said. Batman nodded once. "He's all yours." And before anyone could blink, he was gone again. The only proof of his presence, the faint echo of his boots, fading into night. The next morning, every paper in Gotham carried the same headline: "Lau returns from Hong Kong, mob in chaos." At the Gotham Police Department, Lau sat behind bulletproof glass, flanked by officers. He looked smaller now, not the sleek banker of yesterday, but a frightened man stripped of control. You'll never make it stick, he hissed at Harvey Dent through the glass. We don't have to, Dent said, smiling. We just need you to talk. Lau's face hardened. You think the mob will let me? Dent leaned closer. You should worry about the Joker, not the mob. Lau blinked. Who? Meanwhile, in a dim warehouse filled with flickering light, the Joker stood before a mountain of money, bundled stacks piled higher than his head. Around him, the mobsters stared in disbelief. Maroney stepped forward. Half. You said you wanted half. The Joker nodded, lighting a cigarette. I did. He tossed it casually onto the pile. Flame roared upward, swallowing the bills in seconds. The mobster shouted, reaching for the fire extinguishers. The Joker just watched, smiling as the blaze painted his face orange. It's not about the money, he said softly. It's about sending a message. Maroney's men backed away. The Joker's laughter cut through the crackle of burning cash. He turned toward them, eyes alive with something far worse than greed. This city deserves a better class of criminal, and I'm gonna give it to them.
Chapter 11. The Hong Kong Plan. Morning sunlight slanted through the tall windows of the district attorney's office. Stacks of case files covered every table. Phones rang, printers clicked, and coffee steamed in every corner. It was chaos, organized, hopeful chaos. At the center of it stood Harvey Dent, sleeves rolled up, tie loosened, eyes bright with purpose. He moved through the room like a conductor, pointing to assistants, signing papers, dictating indictments. Every name Lau gave us, I want cross-checked with RICO statutes. Wire fraud, tax evasion, conspiracy, we hit them all. If a mobster so much as sneezes, I want it on record. His aide looked up. Sir, that's over 500 defendants. Then we'll need a bigger courtroom, Harvey said, smiling. The doors swung open. Rachel Dawes entered, a folder in hand. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Rachel, he said, grinning, you're looking at history. We've never had a case this big. We can shut down half the mob in one strike. She handed him the folder. You'd better hope your witness stays alive enough to testify. Lau's safe, he said, too quickly. Rachel frowned. No one's safe in this city anymore. Across town, in the Major Crimes Unit, Lieutenant Gordon stared at the wall of mugshots, the faces of Gotham's criminal elite. Each one now had a red circle drawn around it. Stevens entered with a cup of coffee. The DA's office says they're charging 527 individuals. Lau's testimony covers them all. Gordon nodded slowly. We'll need holding space at Blackgate and more uniforms. Stevens smirked. You mean more body bags? Before Gordon could reply, a sergeant burst in, holding a small envelope. Sir, this came to the front desk, no return address. Gordon took it, turning it over. A single playing card slid out. The Joker. On the back, in black ink, were 3 words. Starting tonight. Smile. Gordon stared at it for a long moment. Get bomb squad on alert, he said quietly. And someone warn the mayor. That evening, the Gotham City News broadcast was interrupted. A jittery handheld camera flickered to life. Static, then a voice. The screen showed a terrified man, duct-taped to a chair, wearing a cheap Batman mask. Behind him, the Joker paced slowly, the camera shaking with each laugh. So, you think I can do my job? Huh? You think you can be Batman? The captive whimpered. Look at me, the Joker said, grabbing his hair, forcing his head up toward the lens. Look at me. The man sobbed. The Joker grinned. See, I'm not a monster.
I'm just ahead of the curve." He leaned close, whispering something inaudible. Then the feed cut to static. When the broadcast resumed, a message appeared on the screen. "If Batman doesn't take off his mask and turn himself in, people will die, starting tonight." At Wayne Tower, Bruce watched the footage replay on multiple screens. The Joker's face filled every one, painted white, eyes dark and endless, voice curling with madness. Alfred stood behind him, silent for once. When it ended, Bruce turned off the monitors. The silence afterward was heavier than any noise. "He's different," Bruce said. "He's not after money or power. He just wants to see the world fall apart." Alfred nodded slowly. "Some men aren't looking for anything logical. They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with." Bruce looked up. "Then what do we do?" Alfred's voice was soft. "We endure." The next morning, reporters swarmed outside Gotham City Hall. Flashes lit up the marble steps as Mayor Garcia stepped up to the microphones. "We are aware of the video released last night. Gotham City Police are investigating all credible threats. We will not bow to intimidation." In the crowd, Gordon stood grim-faced beside Dent and Rachel. "He's making it public," Rachel whispered. "He wants attention." Dent's jaw tightened. "Then we give him justice instead." The mayor looked out at the sea of cameras. "We will not let fear rule this city." A loud crack echoed from above. Every head turned upward. A body fell past the windows, spinning, arms flailing. It hit the press canopy with a sound that stopped the world. Screams erupted. The tarp collapsed, revealing a corpse dressed as Batman, the same man from the Joker's video. Pinned to his chest was a card, the Joker's face, grinning. Across it, scrawled in red paint, were 3 words. "Will the real Batman please stand up?" That night, Gotham was silent. Even the sirens seemed to hesitate. In the Batcave, Bruce stood before the screen again. The image of that fake Batman burned into memory. He pulled off his gloves, staring at his scarred hands. Alfred approached quietly. "You can't take this personally, sir." Bruce's voice was low. "He's taking lives because of me. He's taking lives because he wants to prove something, that the world's as ugly as he is." Bruce turned, eyes dark. "Then he'll get his proof, unless I stop him first." Chapter 12. The Dead Pretender. The morgue was silent, except for the steady hum of refrigeration units. Steel drawers lined the walls like a filing system for the dead. Gordon stood beside a covered body, notebook in hand, eyes heavy from no sleep. A coroner pulled back the sheet. The man beneath it still wore a cheap black mask, molded from rubber and string. His chest was caved in from the fall. Pinned to it was a playing card, the Joker, grinning, stained with blood. Rachel stood beside Gordon, arms crossed tightly. "His name's Brian Douglas," she said softly. "He worked in accounting, volunteered with Neighborhood Watch, thought he could help." Gordon frowned. "And this is how the Joker repays him." "Not just him," Rachel said. "Anyone who believes in Batman." Gordon exhaled, rubbing his forehead. "He's forcing Batman's hand." That same night, in the Batcave, Bruce watched the footage again. Each frame slowed, magnified, analyzed. The Joker's voice crawled through the speakers, distorted and mocking. "If Batman doesn't take off his mask and turn himself in, people will die, starting tonight." Bruce paused the video on the Joker's face. The frame was grainy, but the eyes, those wild, deliberate eyes, looked alive even in stillness. Alfred came down the steps with a tray of coffee. "Sir," he said carefully, "you can't blame yourself for the choices of madmen." Bruce didn't look away from the screen. "He's killing them because of me, because of what I started." Alfred set the tray down. "Or because of what he's trying to end. You crossed the line first, then he crossed it back with a smile." Bruce turned. "He's attacking symbols. First me, next—" Alfred's voice was grave. "Anyone who stands for order." Morning. Harvey Dent stood at the courthouse steps surrounded by microphones and flashing cameras. Behind him, the building buzzed with officers and reporters. "Mr. Dent," one journalist called out, "do you have any comment on the Joker's threat?" Harvey straightened his tie. "Gotham City will not be terrorized. The Joker thinks fear gives him control. He's wrong. What gives a man control is what he believes in." "Are you afraid, sir?" another voice shouted. Dent smiled faintly. "You can't threaten someone who's already given everything to this city." The crowd murmured. Rachel, standing just behind him, whispered, "That was risky." "Maybe," Harvey said, "but people need to see someone who's not afraid." He stepped inside the courthouse, leaving the questions to echo behind him. By afternoon, the Joker had already struck again. A judge, a commissioner. 2 men dead within hours, each killed in ways that defied sense. Poisoned whiskey, an exploding envelope, chaos woven like art. Every channel played his message. Every newscast carried his laugh. In the major crimes unit, chaos reigned. Phones rang non-stop, officers shouting, evidence boards covered in red string and photographs. Gordon leaned over a desk. "We're losing control of the city," he muttered. "He's killing randomly, or maybe not so random." Stevens pointed at the evidence wall. "Look at the pattern. Judge Cirillo, Commissioner Loeb, and now he's after someone at the fundraiser tonight. The Joker's building a statement, every victim tied to law and order." Gordon's eyes narrowed. Harvey Dent. That evening, the Wayne penthouse glittered again. Another fundraiser, another illusion of safety. Politicians, bankers, socialites, all gathered beneath chandeliers, sipping champagne and pretending not to be afraid. Bruce Wayne moved through the crowd with practiced ease. He smiled, shook hands, made small talk, and watched every corner of the room. He saw Rachel, radiant in a dark dress, speaking with Harvey near the balcony. For a moment he almost smiled, until a whisper in his ear. "Sir, we have movement." It was Alfred, speaking through the earpiece. Uninvited guests, by the freight elevator, armed. Bruce's glass froze midway to his lips. Then came the sound, faint at first, then sharp. The ding of the elevator, the creak of metal doors. The party stilled. A dozen figures entered the room, weapons raised. Their faces were painted white. Their leader smiled a crimson smile. The Joker. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen," he said, voice bright, theatrical. "We are tonight's entertainment." Panic rippled through the crowd. Guards reached for their guns, but the Joker waved a detonator. "Oh, let's not be rude. You see, I'm only looking for one man." He walked between the guests, spinning slowly. "Where is Harvey Dent? You all know Harvey, right? The district attorney, the hero, Mr. White Knight." His tongue clicked. "You know, I like heroes. I just don't like half of them." He grabbed a champagne glass from a tray, sniffed it, poured it over the floor. "Harvey," he sang, "come out. Come out, wherever you are." Dent stood frozen near the bar, Rachel at his side. She whispered, "Don't move." The Joker turned, eyes finding them instantly. "Ah, you are here." He raised his gun, and then the lights went out. In the darkness, chaos erupted, shouts, broken glass, screams. Then a voice from the shadows. "Let her go." The Joker turned, squinting into the dark. "You must be Batman." A figure emerged from the gloom, not in costume, just a tuxedo, but his stance, his voice, unmistakable. "Let her go," Bruce Wayne repeated. The Joker tilted his head. "A little fight in you. I like that." "Then you're going to love me," Bruce growled, and lunged. The chandelier shattered as they crashed through it. Guests scattered, some crawling, others screaming. Gunfire ripped through the air. In the confusion, Harvey and Rachel dove behind a table. Bruce tackled one gunman, disarmed him, hurled him into another. The Joker laughed, truly laughed, as he swung a knife toward Bruce's face. "You remind me of my father." Bruce caught his wrist, slammed it into a marble pillar. The knife clattered. Then sirens, faint but growing louder. The Joker looked toward the window, then back to Bruce. "You've got some fight in you, I'll give you that, but I like Rachel better." He turned, grabbed her wrist. Before Bruce could move, the Joker shoved her toward the open window. Time slowed. Wind screamed through the glass. Bruce dove, caught her, and they fell. The city spun in a blur of lights and motion. Then, with a crash, they landed hard on the roof of a parked car far below. Metal buckled, glass exploded. Rachel gasped for air, trembling. Bruce pushed himself up, bruised but alive. Above them, far away, the Joker leaned out the window, laughing into the night. "Poor Batman! Can't save them all!" Then he was gone. The police arrived minutes later, sirens blaring, lights painting the walls red and blue. Bruce disappeared before anyone could see him. Rachel sat on the curb, shaking, Dent rushing to her side. He held her tight. "Are you okay?" She nodded, eyes distant. "He knew my name, Harvey. He knew me." Dent looked up at the shattered window far above. "Then he knows too much."
Chapter 13. The White Knight. Morning came gray and heavy over Gotham. The newspapers hit the streets with headlines that screamed across every corner stand. Joker attacks Wayne fundraiser. Harvey Dent targeted. Batman still silent as death toll rises. The city had begun to fracture. Some demanded Batman reveal himself. Others begged him not to. But one name appeared in every column, every broadcast: Harvey Dent. At City Hall, Harvey stood before a wall of cameras and microphones, the emblem of the district attorney's office shining behind him. His voice was calm, but resolute. "The Joker wants Gotham to panic. He wants fear to make us weak. But this city's stronger than that. We're going to keep fighting corruption, no matter what his threats are." A reporter shouted, "Mr. Dent, have you spoken to Batman?" Harvey paused, the cameras flashing in his face. "I don't make deals with vigilantes," he said carefully. "But I do believe, whoever he is, he's on the side of justice." The crowd murmured. Rachel watched from the side, her hands clasped tight. She could see the tremor in his fingers, the exhaustion behind his eyes, but no one else noticed. To Gotham, Harvey Dent stood as their hope, unmasked, untouchable. In the Batcave, Bruce watched the broadcast in silence. Dent's voice echoed off the stone walls, calm and commanding. He was everything Bruce had once wanted to be, a hero without a mask.
Alfred stood beside him. "He's good with words, that one. Knows how to inspire." Bruce nodded slowly. "He can give the city what Batman never could, a face." Alfred poured tea. "Then perhaps your job's done." Bruce didn't answer. The screen flickered, the image of the Joker from the news cutting in, replaying his threat. "If Batman doesn't take off his mask and turn himself in, people will die." Bruce's eyes narrowed. Not yet. That night, the Major Crimes Unit was a storm of movement. Gordon, Dent, and a dozen detectives stood over maps and photos, plotting the Joker's pattern of attacks. Gordon pointed at the red circles on the board. "He's targeting public officials. Loeb, Cirillo, now the mayor. He's escalating. The next one could be anyone tied to justice, even me." Harvey looked at the wall, tracing the lines. "He's trying to break the system from the top down." Stepan stepped forward. "We got a tip. Joker's men were seen buying chemical drums out near the Narrows. Nitroglycerin, ammonia, fertilizer, enough to make something big." Gordon nodded grimly. "Get every bomb squad unit we have." Dent frowned. "We can't fight a war on every corner, Jim." "We don't have a choice," Gordon said. "He's already fighting one." At midnight, Batman returned to the Narrows. Rain fell in sheets, turning the cracked concrete into rivers of filth. He moved through the maze of shipping containers like a phantom, silent, deliberate. Through his visor, heat signatures glowed red against the darkness. 3 men unloading barrels, one smoking, one laughing, one talking to someone on the phone. Batman dropped from the rafters. 2 moves, 3 seconds. One unconscious, one pinned, the other disarmed. He lifted the phone from the last man's hand. The screen showed a live video feed. Static. Then a face. White paint, red grin, black eyes. "Evening, Bats," the Joker said through the feed. "You're a hard man to reach." Batman's jaw clenched. "Where are the explosives?" "Oh, I'm not blowing anything up yet. You see, I'm a man of simple tastes. Gasoline, gunpowder, dynamite. And you know the best part? They're cheap." He laughed, the sound jagged and broken. "I just want to see the world have a little fun before bedtime." Batman's voice dropped lower. "You're killing innocent people." The Joker leaned closer to the camera. "Innocent? Don't talk like one of them. You're not, even if you'd like to be." The feed cut to static. Batman's reflection stared back at him in the screen. Black armor, unreadable eyes, the faint flicker of lightning behind him. By dawn, the city's skyline was burning. An explosion ripped through a parking garage downtown, taking out several police cars. 2 officers were found bound and gagged nearby, alive but terrified. On one of their chests, a note written in red lipstick. "Still waiting, Bat. J." At Wayne Tower, Bruce stood in front of a floor-to-ceiling window, watching the smoke curl across the horizon. He could see the faint glimmer of flashing lights near City Hall, could almost hear the distant wail of sirens. Lucius Fox entered carrying a slim case. "You asked for the new suit." Bruce turned. Inside the case lay a sleeker, segmented armor, lighter, more flexible, designed for speed. "Lighter plating, reinforced joints, and you'll be able to turn your head this time," Lucius said. Bruce smiled faintly. "That's a good start." Lucius gave him a long look. "You're planning something, Mr. Wayne. I can see it." "I'm planning to end this," Bruce said. Lucius hesitated. You can't outsmart someone who doesn't want anything. Bruce's gaze hardened. Then I'll outlast him. Later that night, in a half-empty diner on the east side, Gordon and Dent sat across from each other, two men bound by purpose and exhaustion. You ever wonder if we're winning? Dent asked, stirring his coffee without drinking it. Gordon leaned back. When we got Lau, I thought maybe we were. But this, he gestured to the paper, the front page showing the Joker's bloody grin. This is something else. Dent smiled faintly. The night's darkest just before the dawn. Gordon looked at him. You actually believe that? Dent's eyes were calm, steady. I do, and I believe that soon it will be dawn in Gotham.
Chapter 14. The Joker's Gambit. The city didn't sleep anymore. Not really. Every night, the news opened with the same name, the Joker. Every morning, another body turned up, sometimes a public figure, sometimes a random citizen. His threat had become a routine, his laughter an echo in every dark alley. Gotham had stopped asking if he would strike. Now it only asked when. Inside Gotham Police Headquarters, a wall of photographs filled an entire board. The dead, the missing, the suspected targets, mayors, judges, officers. At the center, a single playing card pinned in red thread, the Joker. Gordon stood in front of it, jaw tight, cigarette burning down to ash. His eyes looked older now, lined by sleepless nights. Stevens approached him, a folder under his arm. Sir, the mayor's office wants extra security for the parade tomorrow. They think the Joker might target it. Gordon's voice was low. He wants attention. The parade gives him an audience. Should we cancel it? Gordon shook his head. That's what he wants. We hold it, but we watch every roof, every window, every cop. Every cop? Gordon's expression darkened. He's already killed two of ours. He could be wearing a badge by now. At that moment, in a small television studio across town, a newscaster sat stiffly at her desk, papers trembling in her hands. The broadcast light flicked on. Her voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed fear. This message was delivered to Gotham tonight earlier this evening. Authorities confirm it came from the Joker. The screen cut to a handheld video. The Joker leaned close to the lens upside down, grinning wide. His voice was playful, sing-song, almost childlike. Good evening, Gotham. You've all been so busy playing cops and heroes that you forgot about me. Here's the deal. Until Batman takes off his mask and turns himself in, people will die, starting with this guy. He yanked another man into frame, a trembling reporter with duct tape over his mouth, a name tag reading Mike Engel. Oh, don't worry, Mikey. We're just going to teach the city a lesson in priorities. He leaned closer, whispering to the camera. And tomorrow? Tomorrow we'll play a little game. One city, one mask, and one choice. Static. Then the broadcast cut back to the stunned anchor. In the Batcave, Bruce froze the video on the Joker's face again. He could almost smell the grime, the rot, the madness behind that paint. He's planning something big, Bruce murmured. Alfred nodded. He's already planning something personal. Bruce turned toward the array of monitors showing police chatter and surveillance feeds. He was building a map, cross-referencing the Joker's targets with the parade route. Patterns flickered, faint but visible. He'll need to know this.
he said, reaching for his communicator. At the same time, in Gordon's office, Harvey Dent stood by the window, watching the city blur beneath the gray rain. "Harvey," Gordon said, "you should go home. You've been here for 2 days." Dent shook his head. "If I go home, he wins. If I stop, people die." Gordon sighed. "You're starting to sound like him." Dent turned sharply. "Don't compare me to Batman." "I'm not," Gordon said quietly. "I'm saying you both think you can save this city alone." Dent looked away, jaw tightening. "Someone has to try." Before Gordon could reply, a young officer entered, pale and sweating. "Sir, we just received another envelope." She handed it to him, a thick, yellowed envelope with a red smile drawn on the front. Gordon opened it carefully. Inside were 3 photos, each of a man in uniform, police officers, their names written in ink beneath the images. On the back of one, in jagged handwriting, "You failed to protect them. Next time, try harder." Gordon felt his stomach drop. He's going after the honor guard. The next morning, the city lined the streets for the parade. Helicopters circled overhead. Banners flapped in the cold wind. The police honor guard, rifles shining, took their positions along the steps of City Hall. Above, Mayor Garcia leaned against the railing, talking with his security detail. Gordon's voice came over the radio. "All units, maintain visual. No movement unless you have clear ID. The Joker may be disguised as an officer or civilian." In the crowd, faces blurred, hundreds of eyes, any one of them his. Batman watched from a rooftop half a mile away, scanning through binocular lenses. Every signal, every uniform, looking for the wrong gesture, the wrong face. Then, movement. A man in a police uniform, eyes hidden behind mirrored glasses, adjusting his rifle when no one else did. Batman's pulse quickened. "Gordon," he said into his comm, "3rd row, second from the left, he's—" A single gunshot rang out, then another. Screams erupted. The mayor ducked as glass shattered behind him. Chaos flooded the street. Officers shouting, civilians running, sirens overlapping. Gordon grabbed his radio. "Sniper! Find him! Find him!" Batman launched from the roof, cape flaring like wings. The air tore around him as he dropped through the smoke. He landed hard, rolling to his feet. The shooter was gone, vanished into the crowd. Only the echo of laughter lingered through the confusion. By nightfall, Gotham was in lockdown. The mayor survived, but 2 officers were dead. And somewhere, in a rotting apartment above a pawn shop, the Joker sat amid piles of newspapers, clipping headlines with a kitchen knife. He glued one to the wall. "Mayor survives assassination attempt." He stared at it, then smiled. "Let's fix that," he whispered. He turned toward the camera set up in the corner, red light blinking, and began recording again. "You didn't listen, Gotham, so here's the deal. Tomorrow I'm going to kill the mayor, unless Batman surrenders himself. And I'm a man of my word." He tilted his head, grinning. "Why so serious?"
Chapter 15. The Surrender. Gotham's skyline was a storm of sirens and light. From the tallest tower to the narrowest alley, every screen, every radio, every voice carried the same sentence. "The Joker vows to kill again unless Batman surrenders." By morning, the city had split in 2. Some prayed for the Dark Knight to stand his ground. Most demanded he give up. And everywhere,
On walls, bus stops, and windows, the Joker's grin appeared, drawn in red spray paint, scrawled in lipstick, burned into the city's conscience. In the Batcave, Bruce stood before a wall of monitors showing news broadcasts. The Joker's face flickered across all of them, looping the same clip over and over. If Batman doesn't turn himself in, the mayor dies. You've got 24 hours. Bruce turned off the screens with one swift motion. The cavern fell into darkness. Alfred's voice broke the silence. You can't be considering this. Bruce stared at his mask on the table, the symbol he'd built, the armor that had once felt invincible. They're dying because of me, Alfred. Every hour I hide, he kills more people. Alfred stepped closer. And what happens if you stop hiding? If you hand yourself to that lunatic, you think he'll stop? You think he wants your surrender? He wants your failure. Bruce's voice was low. Maybe that's the same thing. Alfred looked at him, eyes soft. Endure, Master Wayne. That's what men do when the world falls apart. Bruce turned away. Batman was meant to be incorruptible, eternal, a symbol. But maybe a symbol can't bleed for the city forever. Later that day, Harvey Dent stood at the steps of City Hall speaking to a restless crowd. Reporters shouted questions. The air was heavy with anger and fear. Commissioner Gordon has increased protection for all city officials. We are doing everything in our power to keep Gotham safe. Is Batman helping, or is he the problem? One reporter yelled. Dent hesitated. Cameras flashed. Rachel, standing nearby, saw the hesitation, the flicker of doubt behind his eyes. He's not the problem, Dent said finally. He's the reason we've come this far. Don't lose faith in him now. The crowd didn't cheer. They just murmured, uncertain, divided, tired. That night, the crime unit was packed with officers and press. Gordon stood behind a podium, his tie loosened, his face pale under the fluorescent lights. We're doing everything we can, but the Joker's unpredictability makes him unstoppable? A journalist interrupted. Gordon's hand tightened on the podium. Unpredictable, not unstoppable. From the back of the room, a familiar voice spoke. Then let me stop him. The crowd turned. Bruce Wayne stood in the doorway, immaculate in a black suit, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. Flashbulbs erupted. Gordon blinked. Mr. Wayne? Bruce walked forward calmly. I've seen what Batman's done to this city. The chaos, the escalation. It has to end. And it will. Tonight. He stopped before the cameras. I'm the Batman. Gasps filled the room. The press exploded in noise. Gordon's eyes widened. What in the hell are you doing? Bruce turned slightly toward him, voice low enough for only Gordon to hear. It's the only way to make him stop. Gordon started to protest, but Bruce's look said everything. Trust me. Within an hour, the news swept the city like wildfire. Bruce Wayne confesses to being Batman. Crowds filled the streets. Some shouted in disbelief. Others threw bottles at police cars. The Joker's laughter seemed to echo from every TV, every corner, every whispered conversation. In the back of a police van, Bruce sat quietly, hands cuffed, his face calm. Through the small window,
He could see the flashing lights reflecting off the wet streets. For the first time, he wasn't wearing the mask, but somehow it felt heavier than ever. Across the seat, Gordon stared at him. "You know he'll kill you." Bruce didn't look away. Maybe that's what it takes. Before Gordon could reply, the radio crackled to life. "Convoy en route to county lockup, ETA 10 minutes. "Copy that." Static. Then another voice, faint, wrong, and familiar. "We're going to need more than 10 minutes. The Joker's laughter filled the channel. Outside, on a rain-slick street, a semi-truck turned the corner, headlights off. Its trailer was covered in graffiti, painted smiles, bullet holes, and the words, "Hit me." The driver wore a purple coat and grease paint. He grinned at his reflection in the mirror. Let's put a smile on that face. He slammed his foot on the gas.
Chapter 16. The Convoy. The rain had stopped, but the street still shimmered with its memory. Blue and red lights reflected in every puddle as the police convoy rolled through downtown Gotham, escorting its high-profile prisoner, Bruce Wayne, the man who had just declared himself Batman. The armored trucks moved in formation, one lead car, two flanking SUVs, and the main transport in the center. Inside that steel van, Bruce sat in silence, hands cuffed to the bench. His expression was calm, but his eyes burned with calculation. Across from him, Commissioner Gordon rode with a hand on his radio. "You know this is insane. The Joker will come after you before we even reach county." Bruce looked at him evenly. "That's what I'm counting on." Gordon's head snapped toward him. "What?" Bruce's voice was low. "He wants Batman. He's watching, so we give him Batman." "You're using yourself as bait." Bruce said nothing. Outside, the sirens howled as they crossed the river bridge. Motorcycles fanned out ahead, clearing the traffic. The city lights blurred into streaks of gold and red through the wet glass. Gordon's radio crackled. "Convoy on schedule, no visual on suspect. Over." "Copy that. Keep eyes sharp. Joker could be anywhere." A pause. Then another voice cut through. Strange, mocking, almost singing. "Any of you boys got room for one more?" Static erupted, followed by a sudden explosion. The bridge ahead vanished in a cloud of fire. A truck flipped sideways, slamming into a cruiser. The convoy screeched to a halt as debris rained down. Through the smoke came the sound of laughter, faint, echoing, but unmistakable. And then the semi-truck appeared. It burst through the flames like a charging beast, painted with a crude red grin. Its front grille had the words, "Slaughter is the best medicine," scrawled across it in dripping white paint. From the cab, the Joker leaned out, his coat flapping wildly, his grin wide enough to cut glass. "Good evening, Gotham. Let's do a little public service." He swung the truck toward the convoy, metal screaming against metal. "Get down!" Gordon shouted. Bullets shredded the lead car. Officers scrambled for cover. The air filled with sirens, glass and gunfire, the sound of a city tearing itself apart. Far across the rooftops, a dark figure stood watching. The new suit fit tighter, moved faster. The cowl allowed him to turn his head freely. Through the storm of noise below, Batman tracked every movement, every muzzle flash.
His voice came through the calm and sharp. "Lucius, patch me into their channel." "Already done. You're about to make one hell of an entrance." Batman climbed onto his motorcycle, the Batpod, and gunned the engine. The tires screamed as it launched off the rooftop and dove into the chaos below. The Batpod hit the pavement hard, sliding beneath a burning car before snapping upright. Sparks flew as Batman wove between wrecks, the twin cannons mounted at his sides lighting up the dark. The convoy was breaking apart. Police scattered, pinned down by the Joker's men on overpasses and side streets. Gordon's van swerved violently as the semi barreled toward it. "Move the prisoner!" someone shouted over the radio. Too late. The Joker rammed the truck into the van's rear, pushing it sideways across the bridge. The tires shrieked as steel ground against concrete. He laughed through the shattered windshield, the wind whipping through his hair. "Come on, Bats, let's do this dance." And then there he was. Batman shot out from an alley, the Batpod roaring like thunder. He turned hard, metal tires grinding against the asphalt, and opened fire. The twin cannons spat concussive rounds into the truck's front tires. The semi veered, sparks flying. The Joker screamed in delight. "Yes, that's more like it!" Inside the van, Gordon braced himself as the vehicle slammed into the barrier. "Get him out!" he yelled, but Bruce was already moving. In one fluid motion, he snapped the cuffs, they were never real, and slammed the emergency release. The rear door burst open, wind howling through. Bruce leapt into the storm, disappearing before anyone could react. The chase carved through Gotham's underbelly, tunnels, bridges, side streets. The Joker semi roared through them all, horns blaring, police cars crashed in its wake like toys. And through the smoke, Batman closed in, every movement silent and precise. He accelerated, drew alongside the massive truck, then slammed the Batpod sideways, using the bike's wall-running system to climb up the concrete divider. The Joker stared through the windshield, astonished and thrilled all at once. "You've got some fight in you," he screamed, jerking the wheel. "I like that." He swung the truck around, the trailer jackknifing across the street. Batman fired the grapnel cannon. The cable caught the front axle, then anchored to a lamppost. The line went taut. The truck flipped. Metal screamed as the world turned upside down. The semi hung suspended for a second, then crashed roof first onto the pavement, landing with a shattering boom. Silence. Smoke. The smell of oil and burning rubber. Then, laughter. The Joker crawled from the wreckage, bruised, bleeding, and smiling. He stumbled into the street, limping toward the oncoming Batpod. "Come on, hit me! I want you to do it! Come on, hit me!" Batman accelerated, the engine's roar echoing through the empty street. The Joker spread his arms, standing dead center in the lane. "Come on, do it! I want you to break your one rule!" At the last moment, Batman veered away. The Batpod spun, crashed, and skidded across the concrete in a rain of sparks. The Joker cackled. "You just couldn't do it, huh? Too much fun to stop now." He reached for a gun. But before he could pull the trigger, an armored SWAT van screeched to a halt behind him. The rear doors burst open. Gordon stepped out, gun raised. "Did you really think I was dead?" The Joker blinked, then began to laugh again, louder, higher, until it became something inhuman. "Oh, you are full of surprises." He dropped the gun and raised his hands. "All right, officer, you got me." Gordon cuffed him himself. Not yet. The convoy reassembled, battered but alive. The Joker, now restrained, smiled all the way to the station, as though the entire chase had been exactly what he wanted. And somewhere above them, on the rooftops, Batman watched. The city roared with sirens below, but he felt no victory. The Joker was in custody, yet somehow it felt like the beginning of something worse.
Chapter 17. The Fall from Grace. Gotham didn't sleep. The penthouse attack replayed on every channel, the grainy footage from cell phones turning chaos into spectacle. Guests screamed, crystals shattered, and a painted face smiled in freeze frame under the chyron, "The Joker strikes again." The talking heads debated what it all meant, whether the Batman's war on crime had created a monster, whether Harvey Dent had drawn the madness to him, whether Gotham could still pretend it was sane. At GCPD, the night was thick with fatigue and gunpowder. The squad room buzzed with tension as detectives filed reports and arguments broke out over jurisdiction. Gordon's office sat empty, black cloth over the chair, photographs turned face down. No one could bring themselves to clear the space. Then the door opened. Harvey Dent stepped inside, rain still dripping from his coat. "Close the blinds," he said quietly. The officers obeyed, uncertain. He turned toward the desk, his reflection faint in the glass of a framed photo, Gordon smiling beside his wife and kids. "I'm not letting this case die with him," Dent said. "The Joker wants to make us afraid to do our jobs. That's not going to happen." Ramirez nodded, eyes wary. "You got protection, sir?" "Enough," Dent said, too quickly. "Focus on Lau's testimony. If we lose that, we lose everything." Rachel found him an hour later in the corridor outside the evidence lockup. "Harvey," she said softly, "you need rest." He shook his head. "He's killing everyone connected to this case. Judges, cops, anyone who stood for the law. If I stop now, it's like I'm helping him." She stepped closer, voice gentle. "You can't fight chaos by working yourself to death." He smiled faintly, not out of joy, but from the strain of holding it all together. "I'm not afraid of chaos, Rachel. I've spent my whole life staring it down in courtrooms." She looked into his eyes and saw the flicker there, not confidence anymore, but something unsteady, a tremor of obsession. "Promise me," she said quietly, "if it gets too dangerous, you'll call Bruce." He gave a small laugh. "Bruce Wayne? He throws parties, Rachel." Her expression didn't change. "He also saves people." Dent didn't reply. He turned and walked down the hall, leaving her in the hum of flickering lights. In the Bat bunker, Bruce watched the Joker's face on a dozen monitors. He slowed the footage frame by frame, the tilt of the head, the smile that never reached the eyes. Lucius Fox stood behind him, arms crossed. "You know what he's doing," Lucius said. "He's pushing you into the open." Bruce's voice was low. "He's trying to prove that one man can bring down the symbol. If Batman falls, the city falls with him." Lucius frowned. "Then maybe it's time to think about what comes after the symbol." Bruce turned, the screens flashing across his face. "If I give him what he wants, he wins. If I don't, more people die." Lucius sighed. "That's the thing about playing their game, Bruce. You start to forget it isn't yours." The next day, Harvey Dent held a press conference.
The courthouse steps were soaked in sunlight and tension. Microphones crowded his face, questions flew like arrows. "Mr. Dent, do you fear you're next on the Joker's list? Should Batman turn himself in? Is Gotham still safe under your leadership?" Harvey met their gaze, voice steady but raw. "The Joker thinks he can break our spirit with fear. He's wrong. The people of Gotham are stronger than one madman." Rachel watched from the crowd, heart tight. Behind the composure, she saw the cracks forming, the twitch of his jaw, the defiance that looked too much like desperation. When the conference ended, she caught up to him on the courthouse steps. "You can't keep going like this," she said. He turned to her, eyes blazing. "If I stop, he wins. I won't let that happen." Then softer, "You still believe in me, don't you?" Rachel hesitated. "Always," she said, but the word felt like a prayer she wasn't sure would be answered. That night, Bruce stood at the edge of the penthouse balcony, the city below glowing like a circuit board. Alfred joined him, holding 2 glasses of whiskey. "She's worried about him," Bruce said quietly. "About Harvey? And about me." Alfred handed him the glass. "Well, she's got good reason. You're both trying to do the same thing in different ways, clean up a city that doesn't want to be cleaned." Bruce stared at the skyline. "Harvey can't win this fight in the open." Alfred looked at him. "And you can't win it in the dark forever." Bruce didn't answer. Somewhere far below, a siren wailed, long, mournful, and fading into the rain. In a dim warehouse by the docks, the Joker's laughter cut through the silence. A television flickered before him, replaying Dent's speech. He tilted his head, eyes wide. "The people of Gotham are stronger than one madman," he mimicked, grinning. "Let's find out." He snapped his fingers. 2 of his men dragged forward a trembling figure, one of the copycat vigilantes who'd tried to help Batman. The man's voice broke through the gag. "Please, I just wanted to help." The Joker leaned close, almost tender. "Oh, you have helped. You've shown me exactly where the line is." He reached for a camera. "Now let's see what happens when we cross it."
Chapter 18. The Mayor's Warning. The television screen flickered with static. Then came the grainy image, the Joker again, center frame, his face painted in harsh fluorescent light. He spoke directly to the camera, voice calm, almost playful. "Good evening, Gotham. You've all been very busy pretending everything's fine. But me, I just can't stop thinking about Harvey Dent." He leaned closer, the lens warping his grin. "See, I like him. He's got a plan. He's got principles. He's got that whole hero thing going. And that makes him boring. So, let's fix that." He straightened, humming off key as he flipped through a stack of photographs, faces of city officials, judges, police officers. "Here's how it's going to work. Every day Batman doesn't take off his mask, people will die, starting with these folks." He held up one photo to the camera, a smiling man in uniform. "His Honor, Commissioner Gordon." He tilted his head, as if remembering something. "Oh, wait, he's already dead." He tossed the photo aside, laughing quietly. "All right, then, let's try the mayor." He grinned wider. "Tomorrow." Then the screen went black. At City Hall, panic rippled like a contagion. Security doubled. Snipers positioned across rooftops, the corridors buzzing with the sound of fear, disguised as control. Mayor Garcia stood at the window,
looking down at the chaos of press vans and barricades below. He didn't turn as Harvey Dent entered, holding a manila folder thick with names. "Mr. Mayor," Dent began, "we've confirmed the threat. The Joker is targeting high-ranking officials. You should evacuate until he's caught." The mayor turned, weary. "And make it look like I'm running? Gotham's barely holding together as it is." Dent stepped forward. "If he kills you, it'll do more than that. It'll finish the job." The mayor studied him for a moment. "You really think Batman can stop him?" Dent hesitated. "He's the only one who might." The mayor sighed. "Then God help us all." In the MCU briefing room, officers crowded around a whiteboard covered in photographs and strings. At the center, the Joker's face stared out in smeared grease paint. Ramirez pointed to a new file. "Sir, we found the body of another copycat vigilante, same MO as the others. Joker's using them to send a message." "Which is?" an officer asked. She glanced at Gordon's empty chair, then said quietly, "That no one's untouchable." The room went silent. Then the door opened. A man stepped in, hat pulled low, coat collar up. Every head turned. He took off the hat. Gordon, alive. The room froze, then erupted. He held up a hand. "Easy. I needed them to think I was dead." Ramirez's eyes widened. You faked it?" "Best way to find out who's working with the Joker. Half the department is dirty. Now we know who's loyal. Let's take him down before he finishes his list." Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne stood before the mirror in the penthouse, tie half-tied, eyes dark with sleeplessness. On the table beside him lay the morning paper. "Joker threatens mayor. Public fears Batman triggered war." He picked up the phone. "Lucius, I need to find him." Lucius's voice came steady. "You already have. He's using the city's infrastructure, cell networks, broadcast towers. He's turning Gotham's communication grid into his stage." Bruce's jaw tightened. "Then we pull the plug." "You know what happens if you do so," Lucius warned. "He's not after attention anymore. He's after escalation. The moment you act, he'll make it worse." Bruce looked out over the skyline. "Then I'll make it end." At dusk, the mayor stepped onto the balcony of City Hall, surrounded by security. Below, the police honor guard assembled for Gordon's public memorial, the city still believing he was gone. Bagpipes wailed, flags rippled in the wind. Dent stood near the front, eyes scanning the rooftops. Rachel stood beside him, pale. "He said the mayor was next," she whispered. Dent's hand brushed hers briefly. "He won't get the chance." Across the street, on the rooftop of a parking garage, a rifle barrel glinted. Batman crouched beside it, scanning the scope. Something was wrong. The line of fire didn't point toward the mayor, it pointed toward the podium below. Through the scope, he saw the gunman's uniform, a GCPD officer, his finger tightening on the trigger. "Gordon," Batman growled into his calm, "he's not after the mayor." Then he moved. A dark shape launched from the roof as the first shot cracked the air. Screams erupted, officers swarming. Batman crashed into the gunman mid-aim, both tumbling across the gravel. The weapon clattered away. He ripped off the shooter's helmet, a young cop, trembling, terrified. "Where is he?" Batman hissed. The man shook, eyes wide. "He said I was saving the city. He said—" Batman slammed him against the ledge. "Who said?" But he already knew. Down below, chaos. Security pushed the mayor inside. Dent shouted orders, dragging Rachel toward cover. And then, a shadow moved through the crowd. A face painted white beneath a stolen police cap. The Joker. He passed inches from Dent, smiling as he slipped away into the mass of uniforms. Dent turned just in time to catch the smile, the flash of red. Then the Joker was gone. Minutes later, on a rooftop 2 blocks away, the Joker climbed into the back of a stolen truck. He lit a cigarette, chuckling to himself. "Could have killed him," one of his men said. The Joker exhaled smoke. "Where's the fun in that? He's not scared enough yet." He smiled at the city skyline, alive with sirens. But he will be. Chapter 19. The Coffin Card. Rain soaked the courthouse steps, washing away the last of the blood. A small white card, stuck to the concrete, trembled in the wind. A Joker card, edges curling. Across its face, written in red marker, were 3 words. 1 by 1. The city was unraveling. Inside Gotham City Hall, the lights never went out anymore. Every corridor echoed with the hum of security, radios, and fear. Mayor Garcia stood with Gordon and Harvey Dent in the Situation Room, surrounded by maps, mugshots, and photographs of the dead. "The Joker's killing judges, cops, anyone tied to the case," Gordon said. "Every morning a new name. No pattern except the message. Batman unmasks or Gotham bleeds." Dent's jaw clenched. "He's turning law into a hostage. The system's paralyzed because everyone's afraid of being next." The mayor looked at both men. "Then make them feel safe again." Dent's voice was sharp. "That's not fear you can talk away, sir. He's rewriting the rules." Gordon exhaled. "He's making it a coin toss. Live or die. Order or chaos." For a long moment, the only sound was thunder outside the windows. Then the mayor said quietly, "Then we find him, before there's no city left to save." Across town, in the district attorney's office, Rachel sat at her desk, typing up a statement. The building was half empty. Most of the staff had quit or gone into hiding. Only a few still came to work. She looked up as Harvey entered. He looked tired, his tie loose, his eyes shadowed. "They're pulling officers from my detail," he said. "Half of them don't want to guard me anymore." Rachel frowned. "Can you blame them? Every name on the Joker's list ends up dead." Dent paced the floor. "I'm not backing down, Rachel. The moment we start hiding, we lose everything we fought for." She rose, voice quiet. "And if you die, what do we have left?" He stopped, meeting her gaze. "Justice," he said, "even if it kills me." Her eyes softened. "You sound like Bruce." He gave a tired smile. "Then maybe he's finally rubbing off on me." That night, a storm raged over Gotham. Lightning flashed across the skyline, illuminating the rain-streaked windows of the MCU. Inside, Gordon leaned over his desk, files scattered like fallen cards. Ramirez entered, holding a folder. "Sir, they found another one." Gordon looked up. "Who?" She hesitated. "Judge Harlan. The Joker mailed the body to the courthouse in a coffin, and inside—" She placed a photo on the desk. The Joker card, again, pinned to the judge's lapel. Written across it, "Batman's turn." Gordon's stomach twisted. He stared at the card, the ink bleeding in the photograph. "Get Dent and Rachel, now!" In a warehouse at the edge of the Narrows, the Joker painted. A row of mannequins stood before him, each dressed in a judge's robe, a police jacket, a lawyer's suit. Each had a playing card pinned to its chest. He hummed as he worked, splashing streaks of red and black across the walls. One of his men approached cautiously. "Boss, why go after the big fish? We could rob banks, easy money." The Joker stopped painting and turned slowly. "Money," he whispered, smiling. "Do I look like a guy who's after money?" He laughed, a rasping sound that filled the room. I'm after balance. You kill the men who think they make the rules, and suddenly everyone's equal. He stepped closer to the thug, voice dropping. You see, I'm not a monster. I'm just ahead of the curve. The man tried to smile. Sure, boss, whatever you say. The Joker's expression changed in an instant. The knife was already in his hand. He smiled almost kindly. Don't lose faith in me now. The blade flicked once. The humming resumed. At dawn, Gotham awoke to sirens. A convoy of police cars rolled down 4th Avenue, escorting another coffin. This one bore a message carved on the lid, Batman next. News crews followed the procession, their cameras hungry. People lined the sidewalks, silent, umbrellas trembling in the rain. In living rooms across the city, the scene played on every screen. The Joker's prophecy made flesh. Parents turned off the TV when their children began to cry. In the Bat Bunker, Bruce watched without blinking. Every name, every threat. He's escalating faster, Lucius said. We can't stop him by reacting. Bruce's voice was low. Then I'll end it before he chooses the next name. Lucius shook his head. And how exactly do you plan to do that? Bruce turned to him. By taking off the mask. Lucius froze. You can't mean that. If I don't, he'll keep killing people who don't deserve to die. Lucius shook his head again. And if you do, he'll just prove his point, that fear rules Gotham. Bruce looked back at the monitors, at the Joker's smile. I'm not doing this for fear. I'm doing it for choice. In the corner of a television studio, that night, a new video began to play. The Joker, laughing softly, surrounded by newspaper clippings. People keep dying, and still Batman hides. Maybe he's not a hero after all. Maybe he's just another one of them. He leaned close to the camera. Tomorrow, I'm going to prove it, and all of Gotham will see what a hero really looks like when the mask comes off. He licked his lips, eyes gleaming. Because tomorrow, someone else dies. Chapter 20. The Dead Batman. Dawn broke over Gotham like a bruise. Purple clouds over steel towers, rain still hanging in the air. The streets were quieter than usual, the fear too thick to name. On every screen, anchors spoke in strained voices about unconfirmed threats, about heightened security. But beneath the noise, everyone was waiting for one thing: the next name. It came at 8:13 a.m. The morning traffic slowed as a crowd formed near Gotham City Police Headquarters. Someone screamed. Phones lifted into the air. There, hanging from a rope between two lampposts, was a body dressed head to toe in black armor, cape, cowl, the symbol burned into the chest. Batman dead. A sign dangled from the neck, scrawled in red paint, "Will the real Batman please stand up?" The laughter came from above, a recording echoing through hidden speakers, tinny, distorted, then silence. The cameras arrived before the police did. Gordon pushed through the wall of onlookers, coat flapping, his face hard. "Get them back," he barked. Officers cut the body down as reporters shouted questions. When the mask came off, the world gasped. It wasn't Bruce Wayne. It wasn't anyone knew. Just a man, mid-30s, bruised, bloodied, wearing an imitation suit made of hockey pads and duct tape. Ramirez whispered, "It's one of the copycats." Gordon's expression didn't change. "Send it to forensics and keep the press quiet." "Too late," she said, pointing to the news van already broadcasting live. By noon, Gotham had a new headline: "Batman hanged in front of police HQ." "City demands masked vigilante turn himself in." Dent slammed the paper onto his desk. "He's not just killing people, he's turning them into messages." Rachel looked pale. "He wants to make Batman the villain." Dent's eyes burned. "Then we stop giving him bodies to work with." She hesitated. "You can't stop a ghost, Harvey. He's everywhere." He turned to the window, voice low. "Then I'll draw him out." That night, the Bat Bunker was lit only by screens. Footage from the scene played again and again, the fake Batman swaying, the crowd screaming. Bruce watched in silence, jaw clenched, while Alfred stood beside him. "He's mocking you," he said softly. "He's showing Gotham what happens when they try to fight their own monsters." Bruce didn't respond. Alfred continued. "He's trying to make them hate the idea of Batman." Bruce turned, eyes cold. "Then I'll show them what the real one can do." He began strapping on the armor. Alfred sighed. "And what exactly is the plan, Master Wayne?" "To bring him in." "And if you can't?" Bruce paused. "Then I'll make sure he can't kill again." Elsewhere, in a dim bar across town, the television flickered as the same news footage played. A man sat at the counter, watching with hollow eyes. He wore a worn leather jacket, the collar high, his hands trembling around a glass of whiskey. The bartender said quietly, "Crazy world, huh? Some guy pretending to be Batman gets himself killed." The man didn't answer. He just stared at the screen. The camera zoomed in on the Joker's calling card, taped to the body's chest. "I'm a man of my word." The man swallowed hard, stood, and left without paying. Outside, the rain began again. At City Hall, a press conference was already being prepared. The mayor's aides argued about whether Dent should appear. He insisted. He stepped up to the podium, cameras flashing. "The Joker thinks Gotham will abandon its heroes," he said. "He thinks we'll turn on Batman, but he's wrong." He looked directly into the lens. "Whoever Batman is, he's not our enemy. He's fighting for us. The Joker's the one who wants us afraid, who wants us divided." The crowd murmured, the city watching in real time. Rachel stood at the edge of the stage, her hands trembling. She could see it in his eyes, the defiance, the exhaustion, the breaking point. In a warehouse a few blocks away, the Joker watched the speech live on an old television. He was grinning, leaning forward like a man watching a comedy. "Look at him," he whispered to his men. "Mr. Dent, the hero. So serious." He clapped his hands once. "He's got guts. Let's see how long they last." He gestured toward a pile of uniforms in the corner. SWAT, police, paramedics. "Tomorrow, we crash the parade." One of his men asked, "What parade?" The Joker smiled, tapping the TV screen where Dent's face glowed. "The one they'll throw when the mayor gives his speech." He turned up the volume, voice soft and gleeful. Time for the city to meet its new king.
This was the first part of the book. Subscribe so you don't miss the second part of the book, and don't forget to like,